I promise you that I'm not going to make you do anything too ridiculous tonight. No, there is going to be exercises. There is going to be lots of interaction going on and everything, but it's going to be highly practical and very, very useful. I was sort of sharing with a few people I was talking to earlier on. My passion is actually with small businesses. I absolutely adore people who start their own business and get out there and do their stuff. And I absolutely totally believe that we are the basis on which we're going to recover in the UK. So if I can help you tonight to become even better than you already are, then I would have done a fantastic thing. So my job is actually to try and help you to articulate as much as you can your business and who you are and what you do, so that other people can help you to become more successful. And all of that is through word of mouth and referrals and introductions. So that's my focus tonight, is to talk about personal brand, but in the context of that it's going to help to open up doors. So I'm not looking at the theory or the rhetoric of it. I actually want to make sure that this is a tangible, useful, practical thing. So we're going to start off with a quote from Jeff Bezos. It's probably my favourites. It's a very old quote as well. But he sort of says, a brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I think this is absolutely true, because real networking means that when somebody's having a conversation with somebody else, they go, I've got a problem and I need a... And then the other person goes, oh, I know just the right person. And hopefully that's you. But they can only do that under certain circumstances. So there's two parts to tonight. The first part is going to be looking at those conversations. How do those conversations happen? And I'm going to dissect it a little bit. I'm going to sort of strip it all down and show you what's going on. Because the second you know what's going on and you get that logical process, then you can then start working out, what's my brand? What's the message I need to get across, so that people who are going to be your connectors and introducers, they can pass you forward. So it's like creating a little mini army who really wants to go out and do your thing for you. So that's what we're going to do tonight, and we're going to do it in lots of different ways, so you'll get time to talk to each other and practice and stuff like that. So in terms of actually introductions, you will do that amongst yourselves later on. But just so you know who I am, my name is Heather White, and I run a business. Well, I actually run two businesses because I'm a bit stupid. And so one's called Smarter Networking, which I've been doing for about 14, 15 years. And that's all about teaching people how to network and getting their brand sorted out. And that's all around career succession, business succession, and also just pure success. So whatever you want networking to do for you, then I'm your go-to person. Whilst doing that job, people started asking me a lot around, I'm trying to find non-exec or trustee roles. So, you know, being the connector that I am, so I'm like going, well, go here, go here. And then eventually I thought, I know, I'll set up a portal that shows people where to go and find the networks to do with trustees and non-exec stuff. So that's the second business that I've started up, and we're now doing matchmakings between large corporates and small businesses from a board level, which is really interesting. And personal branding, again, comes up a huge amount during that part. And then in terms of the clients that I work with, these are most of the types of businesses I do. And all of this is through networking and making sure that my message is clear, so that when people are looking for a networking expert, because that's my tag, that they go, oh, you need Heather. So if I'm making an introduction, it is, my name's Heather White and I'm a networking expert. Okay? And then the two things tend to come together. So, and that's where I want to get you to tonight. So when you are asked what you do, you're not a business owner, you're not anything else, you are your expertise, or you're something along those sort of lines. I'm not going to get you to create a strap line. I don't want any of those sort of funny statements that people sort of like come out with. I hated that fad when people were having to come up with some really quirky thing. So I'm not an accountant, I'm a profit making something or another, like, yeah, whatever. You know, I'm not quite sure which was which. So we've gone through that stage, thank goodness, and we're now into some real proper stuff. So that's where I'm going to take you. Everybody happy? Yeah, rock on, marvellous. Okay, so this is the agenda. So for those of you who want a bit of structure, we have a little bit of structure, not much, but there is a bit of structure, and you will be testing this stuff out to make sure it absolutely works for you. So this is what we're aiming to do. I want to start off though with a tiny little bit around the evidence around this sort of stuff. And the reason why you've got that drip thing going on over there, and I hope no one wants to go to the toilet because this is going to irritate you, but I want to make sure that people, oh, I've said it now. I want to make sure that you guys really get that the most important thing when you are looking at brand okay, is that it's not something that you do overnight. It is a journey. And this journey has to have lots and lots and lots and lots of touch points. So if you sort of think about that droplet being the touch point, so you're creating energy, so to speak, the trajectory is actually where you're focused. Because if you're not focused on your personal brand or what you're trying to achieve, it gets a bit messy or it's not quite so impactful. And then the ripple is literally the energy that you're creating around you. As an example, if I meet you tonight, nice to meet you. Hello, what's your name?
Kate.
Kate, nice to meet you, Kate. Now this is when it all starts, isn't it? The handshake, hello, and then the next one is, so what do you do? Now what can happen is that people can go, because they've done this thousands of times. Hello, my name is Heather White, I'm from Smarter Network and I'm a networking expert. What do you do? Okay, now that's not exactly very exciting, is it? Okay, now the thing with this one is that if there is no energy, we don't cause ripples. If you haven't said the right stuff that engages people, they don't ask the next question. And you've been to lots of networking events when you've sort of said hello, and then after you've done that first exchange, the whole thing dies, doesn't it? And you're all scrabbling around for what do I say next? Well, part of that is because neither of the parties have created enough energy to excite the next question. So, tell me more, what does that mean? How does that work? And that's what we're trying to achieve. So the whole point of that constant drip is that you are constantly, and I mean constantly being every day you're doing something to build your brand and reputation, that you are clear on your focus, but most importantly it has to create some energy. So let me give you an example. This is one of my contacts. Her name's Vanessa Vallely. I met her six years ago, I think. And 6 years ago she worked for Aviva and she was a COO, and she wanted to try and develop her career. So she looked online to find women's networks because she thought, I'll join some women's networks and I'll find out what they do and that might support me. She had the same problem as I did when I was trying to signpost people for the non-exec stuff, where they were scattered everywhere. So she created this portal, which then listed all the women's networks. Now that was 5 years ago. 5 years later, she gets 40 million hits a month on her website. So she's transformed herself from just an ad hoc passion about how do I develop my career into now a full-time business. So the whole website actually drives all the diversity issues. So she's all about how can I help women in the city. So, and it's called We Are the City. Now she didn't start off to create that. She had a problem, so she was trying to find an answer, couldn't find the answer, so she created something. So today, she's really known as the go-to person. Anything to do with diversity and women's stuff in the city, she's the go-to person for that. But she is this character. The reason why I got her Pearly Queen stuff up, because she really is a character. And she's a larger-than-life person. When you meet her, her hair is just as mad as she is. She's just there. It's all there happening. But then if you look at that from a brand perspective, you've got energy, you've got passion, and you've got a focus. So it really does work. Let me introduce you to a couple of my other friends as well, just so I want to make sure that you're getting the message quite clearly now as to how this stuff works. This is Wendy Cartridge. Now she is the HR director for UEL, University of East London. She used to do the Olympics stuff, so when they built that up and then they sort of closed it down, I can't remember which one it is, the Olympics planning, whatever it was. Anyway, so she did all of that. So she's got this lovely reputation all to do with HR and actually sort of doing complex, big HR sort of projects. And she recently introduced me to another HR contact. So what you've got is you've got someone who is clear about her brand, and then she knows about me, and then she does an introduction. So today I've got the introduction into Fujitsu to the HR director. That would never happen if I just made a phone call, would it? Just doesn't happen. So I get her brand, she gets my brand, and there's an introduction. Then you've got Daniel and Simon. They started up this business over in Switzerland, which is to look at how to help university students, top university students from across the world, to get access to these large corporates rather than just the top 10 universities. So they wanted to make sure top talent was being heard. So they started up that sort of business. Then you've got Alan McElworth, worth looking up. This guy is the most connected bloke I know. Now his connections actually into technology and into the finance sector is second to none. He's a finder and he's a connector, absolutely extraordinary. Then you look at Maggie Berry. whose speciality gains in the women's sort of sector, procurement and women in technology. I want you to think about the language that I'm using to describe these people. In their own right, they are top of their class, but their message is clear, and I want you to realise, what am I doing to describe them? Okay, because I'm not using lots of words here, am I? I'm using what? How many words do you think I'm using to describe each person? Key words. How many words am I using, do you think? Yeah, absolutely. That's a magic number, 6. So each of these people, I could give you 6 words to describe who they are, and that little drip is still going on. Do you see what I mean? Because all of these people are successful because they've managed to find their focus, know their markets, and create some sort of wave. And that's where we're going to take you tonight. Excited? Okay. All right. For those of you who need a little bit of, give me the evidence then, when you're looking at, does referral stuff work? Yes, it does. I found this report, it actually goes back into 2010, but it's probably the best report I found looking at how to measure, and they've called it the anatomy of the referral, how to measure it. Because I think that's really important. You need to have some evidence that says this stuff is actually going to work. And they were looking at motivation as much as anything else. And they broke it down into this who, why, when, and how many. What I've done is I've broken it down a little bit further for you. So, I think it's really important when you're looking at personal brand is all about helping somebody else get you enough so that they might refer you. So you first of all have to identify who. Who is it that you know, or who is it that you should know, that could give you a referral or could pass your name on? Unless you know who they are, you could be networking around like a lunatic, but it's not going to work. So I think it's really important to be focused on who it is that could be of service to you. Now we'll come on to connectors in a second because they're a little bit of a breed apart, but it's really important to understand who are these people that might be introducers. Then the next part is, why would they do that? Why would anyone refer anyone? Any thoughts? Why would you refer anybody?
To help out someone else?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's all about understanding someone else's motivation, because it is about helping. I think there's nothing more delightful than when someone says, I got a problem, oh, I know somebody that can help you. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, so what I'm looking for then is that these people have a motivation, and quite often it's an internal thing. Because if they know you, they trust you, they like you, then why wouldn't they do that? If they heard of an opportunity, why wouldn't they do that? So it's quite exciting when you then sort of think, okay, well, if I just build friends, build relationships, rather than doing this nasty networky thing that's all a bit superficial, which I don't do, okay, but instead actually build up some lovely friendships and relationships, and then everyone goes, oh, well, I can help, and it's this lovely big energy pool that's going all over the place. Then you're looking at, when do they refer you? I thought this was quite an important part. What they discovered is that most of the referrals took place within 48 hours of meeting somebody or after they met them again. So what you're looking for, and the reason why I show you that drip, is because that's the reason why you have to have some sort of constant touch. Because what happens is that you meet somebody and they're fresh in your mind. You then have a conversation and you go, oh, I've got this real problem. And go, oh, I've got to match you two up. Okay, and that happens. But if you disappear for the sort of 6 months and someone else comes along behind you that does similar stuff to you and builds a relationship, then who's going to be front of mind? So what you're looking for from a branding perspective is that how do you create a process almost that says, how do you sort of stay in touch and build these relationships and keep that branding part going, but without being a nuisance? And I'm not talking about sending brochures out and stuff like that. This is a genuine desire to be of service to other people. Does that make sense to everybody? And this is a bit of a pain actually, because then you're going, what, on top of my business? But this is pure marketing. This is marketing working incredibly well for you. Because unless you've got a massive budget when you're out there doing all of adverts and all sorts of other different things, this is just pure marketing, okay, but done in quite a nice way, actually. It's quite a playful way of doing it. Then you're looking for, because today is all really about business, so I wanted to put in an extra part, which is actually looking at for the reasons why people switch. most of the people that you'll be dealing with will probably have a provider. Do you think? Someone's already using, so like you guys are using a different venue, so why would they actually come and use your venue? Any web designers here? Accountants? No, what do you guys do? Give me a couple of examples. Recruitment software. Okay. So therefore, so your percentage of business, is it mostly to do with switching, or is it to do with brand new people that have never done it before?
Half and half.
Half and half. Okay. So if you've got 50% of your clients are switching, then we've got to look at their reasons for switching. And what I would suggest that you do is look at aligning your brand to their switch reasons. Yeah, because I want to make it easy for somebody. So if someone's going to refer me, I'd much rather they refer me on, this is the main reason why people say, I need to move, I need to find. Because if you don't know that part and you're building your brand on something else, it won't make sense. And your connectors won't make that connection. You're making them work too hard almost, yeah? So when anyone's business is based on switching, then build your brand based on their switch reasons or a trigger point. So in my case, as an example, I do a lot of work with large corporates, and I always get that last minute phone call saying, Heather, we're running a networking event, can you come in and teach our staff how to work a room? So my second tag is around how to work a room, because everybody hates it. People spend a lot of money on networking events, and then they don't teach their staff how to do it. So that's where a lot of my business comes from. So part of my reputation is actually built on reasons why people switch. So as you start thinking about your own brands, think about whether or not switch reasons, are they important? And then of course, you've got how. And in this case, it's how many times does someone make an introduction? Now, from their report, they actually sort of said it averaged about 2. If you meet connectors, it's significant. Okay, so now, if all of your contacts referred you twice, would you be happy? Yeah, too right you would be. If you met half a dozen really good individuals that sort of, mentioned your name half a dozen times, would you be happy? Yeah, easy marketing, isn't it? Okay, so there's only one thing we've got to do is actually work out what is your message that enables me to move you on. Does that make sense to everybody? Cool. Right, so this is a bold statement. What every referrer says and does, and what most of the receivers do next. And I'm going to take you through this because I want you to see exactly when someone is saying, oh, I know somebody just for you, that there's a process they go through, consciously or not. Okay, and I want to show you exactly what's going on, because then that's how you build your brand. Okay, and it's really quite easy. It doesn't mean to say it's not hard. So let's go through this bit. Someone says, I've got a problem. Person opposite says, oh, I know. Now what they've done is they've sort of filtered out. So if they know, say, half a dozen recruitment software people, or maybe 2 or 3, so at this sort of point they've filtered it out because they're going, actually, I know 2 of these. One of them I really like. The other one I don't know enough about. So I'll tell you what, I'll recommend the one I know and trust. Okay, and they've already filtered out the other person. So what you want to start thinking about is what's the conversation that could take place, and therefore does your brand hit that? Second thing is, have you got the right relationships so that when someone's making that judgment call, they go, oh, I know. See what I mean? Okay, now that's how you build your brand, is based on this conversation, because this is the stuff that turns it into business, which is what we all want. Let's break it down. The conversations are normally short and to the point. I've got a problem and I'm looking for. Okay, it's not normally a long conversation, it's quite short. During that time, the problem is stated, and then during that time, the other person does all their filtering. Okay, oh yeah, I got a good contact. And then what will happen is, as you've sort of said over here, that they probably will use between 3 to 6 words to describe you. Just 3 to 6 words, which is great news and terrifying. So I want to show you how this actually works. Who in this room has recently recommended somebody to somebody else on a business basis rather than on, say, like a plumber or something? Unless there's any plumbers in the room. No, okay. So who's actually recently made a recommendation to somebody else? Well, this is really worrying, actually. Okay, step number 1 all become connectors. You know, I want you all to start, every time someone says, I've got a problem, I want you to start thinking about, who do I know that I can make a recommendation to? So I've got hand up over there, and you put your hand up too. Okay, I'm going to try these out and see what happens. Right, so I'm going to start with the lady over there. Could you tell me, how did the conversation come about, and why did you refer the person you did, and give me the key words that you used? So how did the situation come about?
I live in a block of flats and people are looking for someone to replace windows.
Okay,
And I happened to see somebody in the courtyard who was working in a block across the road, and I spoke to them. Sorry, this is long-winded, but
that's right.
and I spoke to them and I said, "Oh, you're doing this," and they showed me their work. So I was able to see exactly what they were doing. So when it came up in my block, I was able to say, "I've seen their work. I like them. They're a father-son outfit. Felt reliable.
And you felt that they were experts in their own sort of field.
Quality work." Yeah.
Okay, all right. So what we have got, so you then got, so there was a conversation, okay, and that was quite a random conversation in that sense. You happened to be talking to somebody and then they said, right. So that random conversation went into a window chat, and then a situation happened, okay, and that led you to sort of see an example, and that led to another conversation, and in that conversation we gathered a few things. So you got a sense of trust. It was a father and son, which sort of somehow builds up a bit of, you know, it sort of consolidates it a little bit, isn't it? And their expertise is actually, because you saw it, is actually windows. Okay, nice easy example. Okay, no problems on that one, that's nice. Right, and then you've got an example.
Yeah, and so I was out with a friend, and the friend's got a niece who wants to get work experience. She wants to be a lawyer.
Right.
So, and our business is working with lawyers.
Okay.
So, but didn't really feel I could use our contacts. So I found out about the niece. She got very good grades. She's very young, quite energetic, and up for starting getting work experience earlier. So I spoke to another friend who I know is an in-house lawyer somewhere else and said, would you help with some work experience? So it's not the best example, but it's
Good example. Still works actually. Absolutely. So there's you in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, and you got your reputation, because when you then went to your next contact, who is the lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you've got here then is that you've got an immediate tag that says this is a lawyer. So this person wants a lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay. Does she specify what area, or just any lawyer?
She's very
Okay.
vague.
That's fine. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So in this case, that worked quite well. So even though this is quite a big, you know, the profession is quite varied, isn't it? But because we're only looking for a lawyer, you knew another lawyer, and then through that, because this was really important, you then checked her out, just like you did with the window people. You had a look at what they got, and then from there, you were able to actually make the connection. There's not a lot of words going on here, okay? They are quite short. But I want you to sort of think that when you describe somebody, can you give me examples of language that you use to describe somebody that you're going to introduce? What sort of language would you use?
Reliable, honest.
Yep, so there's a lot of stuff around the character, isn't there? The personality almost. That sort of says, okay, so this person I can trust, they're reliable, they're organised. So there's a bit around skills as well. So you've got sort of character stuff comes out. Okay, what other things, what other words would you use to describe people?
Talented, competent.
Yeah. So when you're looking at talent, where does that drive you into? Because in this sort of case, we're talking about expert in their own rights. Now this is quite a generic expertise rather than the window people, which is a lot more sort of defined in that sense. So what happens is the talent part is mostly around someone's expertise that comes out. What else? What other words would you use to describe people? Give me some actual words that you might use.
We frequently use they'll look after you and they'll get your assessment booked. So it's the reliability element.
Yeah.
But we kind of tell them what they'll do for them.
Yeah. Now, in order to be able to tell somebody what they do for them, what is it that they've got? So you've got expertise. What's the other part that they've got? So in order to be able to sort of say, okay, well, the reason why they're reliable is because they're clever at what they do, and they're obviously experts in what they do. What else might they have?
Skills.
Yeah, and? Exactly. So what you end up with is you end up with a lot of stuff around the character. Okay, this plays itself out really a lot. Because when you've got someone like this, they're looking for the fit. What you were doing is you were checking out whether or not just your reputation, but would they fit. So everyone who makes an introduction is looking for the fit. And that's a lot around the character. So when we're looking at personal brand, part of your brand is around your character. Now this isn't gregarious stuff. This isn't where you have to bounce around like a tiger, like I feel like doing today. This is about you, the honesty of who you are. The other part is then around your expertise. Now, you can play around with this word, it can be specialist, whatever you want to call that. But problem, if I've got a problem, I'm looking for an expert. I need the window person, I need a lawyer. Okay, so that's their expertise. And then the other part that dances around with here is experience. Whether or not that's an industry or whether or not that's a topic, it could be all sorts of different things. So when people are making recommendations or they're referring you on, I can guarantee you those are the 3 things fundamentally they will say about the other person, using only 3 to 6 words. Guarantee it. Absolutely guarantee it. Which means getting to your brand actually isn't that difficult. You just now need to work out what are the 3 to 6 words that fit into that. Ooh. See, I said this is easy, but I didn't say it was not going to be hard. No, I said it was simple but not hard. One of those anyway. So let's have a look. Just make sure you fully understand. First of all, your connector is about helping them feel motivated that they want to do this. When I look at, the window example and the lawyer example, you were motivated to do it. Whatever that reason was, there was a motivation. Then you look, it's not about, I'm going to make sure that you're not going to tarnish my reputation. You were really clear on that. Okay, and same with the windows, really. I used to live in a block of flats, and this was a big problem for us. When we got in some people and they were absolute rubbish. And the whole block goes nuts over that one. They can explain the fit. So everyone needs to get you in such a way that they understand the fit. Really important, that one. And then they will say something about you, something about your experience and or expertise, depending on what someone is saying, that's my problem. So if someone says to me, Helen, I'm thinking about starting up a women's network. Any ideas? I go, yeah, Vanessa. Okay, they only need to say 2 words. I got an email in the other day and someone said, I'm looking for a non-exec director who must have expertise in security and defence. That's all my brief was. I could give them 4 people because I knew that I had 4 people that were experts in defence and security. Specifically, obviously that's another sort of story because I didn't get that. But what I was able to do is quickly go, oh, okay, I got 4 people that can hit that button. So they only gave me 2 keywords. Okay, but I was able to give them 4 people based on just 2 keywords. Are you getting where I'm coming from? Cool, because in a minute you're going to be doing this stuff. All right, now here's the other important point, is that the person who's said, I need a, will then do the following. Okay, they will do, the DDD is do diligence. I'll say that again. They will do their due diligence. So they're going to check you out. So if you're going to do this networking stuff, and you're hoping that people are going to refer you, then if you're on LinkedIn, get yourself sorted out. Make sure it's all done and dusted. I didn't look you guys up. I'm afraid I didn't have time. But normally I just check you out a little bit. I can probably guarantee, I'll go 50%, and I'm being generous, have not completed their LinkedIn profiles. And I'm probably being generous. More than likely 75% are not complete. Go on, hands of shame. Who hasn't completed their LinkedIn profile? Yeah, I'm going to check you. I'm going to check you out now. That's it. Tomorrow, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. Okay. Right. What they will then do is, if they like what they see and they like what they heard, they will then invite you in for a cup of coffee. If they think that you're not quite for them, quite often they will move you on to somebody else. So expect a little bit of movement with this one, which is really important. And then they will, they will keep on doing their due diligence to making sure you are the right people, because none of us have got time to waste. So you're all clear now on the structure. Okay, so you're going to expect me to ask you to do something in a second, aren't you? Yeah, well, you're right. So it's first impressions, lasting impressions, what's my message? And then it's just as important to sort of say, why would this guy take you with them? Okay, they're busy people, They haven't got enough time and they're in overwhelm. But these people do have the opportunity. So unless you hit them on the head a little bit, they won't get it. What I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to ask you to stand up in a second, and I'd like you to go to the back of the room, help yourself to drink and stuff like that, but I want you to pair up. And I'm going to give you approximately 60 seconds-ish each to introduce yourselves. So I want you to meet someone that you don't know.